Okay, so just explain to me, articulate to me what you want me to do.
Alright.
You want me to put it over here somewhere?
Alright, can you come real quick?
Huh?
Alright.
No, he's fine.
When you're in this point, it's kind of hard to see.
Really?
It's like sideways.
So if they can't see, what they should do? They should move to where they can see.
Okay.
That's what I think. All right. That's it. Is it on, have you? Okay, yes. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, sallallahu wa sallam wa barak ala nabina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So inshallah ta'ala tonight we will resume our study of the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. And as always, we begin with a little review. So, here we have a fill in the blank, and we'll be relying on the younger members of our congregation to help us fill in the blanks. We have a total of 11 blanks. I don't know if we have any candy left. Did they exhausted the last time? We have. All right then. So.
We had and we have and we will have.
And we will have. All right. So then, the rule applies that if you get the answer right, you will get candy. You'll be rewarded with candy. All right. So I'm gonna read. When I get to the blank, if you know the answer, raise your hand. I'll call on you, and if you get it right, you'll get candy. Okay. So here we go. After Ibrahim had lived in Jerusalem for blank years. 30? La. 20. Ahsan. Okay, so 20 years. His wife Sarah said to him, "It appears that the Lord will not allow me to blank." Huh? Go ahead. Huh? Pass? La, Sheikh. I'm sorry.
Have a child.
Have a child. Ahsant. So take my bondswoman Hajar. When Hajar bore him a child, Sarah blank her. Got jealous of her. Ahsant. Envied her. Good job. So Allah commanded Ibrahim to take Ismail and his mother to the future site of blank. Let me see if I got a hand in the back. Any young ladies with a hand up? Repeat. Okay. So Allah commanded Ibrahim to take Ismail and his mother to the future site of... Any hands up in the back? Okay. Mecca. Ahsan. Ibrahim settled them in a blank, comma, blank valley. So how are we going to describe that valley? Follow the Sheikh.
It has no food and water.
Okay, so it was barren. Ahsant.
Yes.
No food and water, barren, I'll take it. But now, it was something else too. It was barren, it had no food and water, it also had no... Huh?
Air?
No air? No, it had air, son. It had air, inshallah. It had air. I'll follow the Sheikh.
No people.
No people, I said uninhabited. Good job, you guys are killing it. He sat them beneath an enormous tree on the very spot from which the well of Zamzam would eventually spring forth. He left Hajar and his son Ismail with some... Sorry about that. You mind if I occupy this space and you switch with me? Allah Zahir. Alright. So he left Hajar and his son Ismail with some... with some dates and a water bag, water skin. Good job. When Ibrahim turned to return to Palestine, Hajar said, Hajar said. تفضل.
Did Allah command you to do this?
Okay, that's one thing she said. Did Allah command you to do this? Very good. What else did she say? So she said two things.
Who are you going to leave us with?
Good. Who do you entrust us? Who are you entrusting us with? And did Allah command you to do this? When Ibrahim answered yes, he has, Hajar replied. Hajar replied. Yes, yes.
Did whatever Allah commands you to do it?
Because you're on a roll. Yes, yes.
Because it doesn't. Because I forgot. Because He will not let us die.
MashaAllah, He will not neglect us. He will not let us perish. You guys killed it. Good job. So candy for all of these young men who answered. All right, now here comes a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult now. It's a little harder. What do we learn from Ibrahim's actions? So what Ibrahim did, what does that teach us? What does that teach us? This is a little harder now. What does that teach us? What Ibrahim did? تفضل Sheikh. Yes. Respectful and honorable. That's good. That's good. That's good. Anybody else have a little bit different answer? A slightly different answer than that? Do we have a hand up in the back? No hands in the back? Who? تفضلي.
That if we're respectful and kind, that if something like that happens to us, Allah will always make everything turn out right if we have our trust in Him.
Jameel, that's it. That he had trust in Allah. He had absolute, complete, perfect trust in Allah. If Allah commands it, it's right, it's going to work out, and he had complete trust in that. Good. What do we learn from Hajar's response? What do we learn from Hajar's response? What's that? Good. She also had a similar trust in Allah. Anything else? Anything else? So both of them had trust, and we can see trust from her response and his actions. What else can we see from Ibrahim's action? He had trust in Allah, but also what else?
Not question Allah.
Ahsan, not question, so we always do what?
Obey.
We always obey. We always obey. And it's not a condition. Our obedience shouldn't be predicated on understanding or fully comprehending it. If we understand the command, we know what we've been asked to do, we do it. Good job. You guys are awesome. Oh, it's a lot of guys. If you answer the question correctly, raise your hand so the Sheikh can see you. Sheikh Muhammad.
Hajar, she showed the great patience with Qadr
Ahsan.
and she kept going with the trusting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala
Ahsan.
and having complete patience with the Qadr of Allah.
With the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is al-khair. Allah is al-khair. Allah yazidak. All right. Let's settle down. Let's settle down. No talking. All right. So now we're going to pick up the story from where we left off. Okay? And basically, after Ibrahim departs, Hajar, she takes to breastfeeding and caring for her infant. And at the same time, being concerned and minding her own health and well-being. Drinking from the water, eating from the dates that Ibrahim had left, taking care of herself because she realized that she would be no good to her child if her health was what? If her health was no good. So she had to take care of herself just like she was taking care of him. Okay? So that's what she did. She rationed the dates, took a little bit here and there, sipped from the water, and took care of her child for as long as she could. But ultimately, what do you think happened? The food, the provisions ran out, right? And ultimately, the water ran out, the dates ran out, and mother and child began to suffer from hunger and thirst. They became hungry and thirsty. And remember, they are not in, I don't know, they're not in, I guess, the middle of America where it's like 70s, right? They're in the desert. They're in the desert. The hot sun is beating down upon them. And now they have nothing to eat or drink. Okay? All right. So now, as you guys know, children generally, they have a low tolerance for hunger. They have a low tolerance for thirst. They have a low tolerance for discomfort, any type of discomfort. So what do you think the child did?
Cry.
He started to cry. And to be honest with you, Hadja, she wasn't sure what she should do. And she was overwhelmed with grief and with worry, like mothers do. Mothers, they're always worried. If the child is sick, if the child is crying, if the child is uncomfortable, the mother what? Worries. And she's so concerned because she got to the point where she couldn't do what? She couldn't think straight. She didn't know what to do. She was beside herself. And she looked at her child, and he was fussing, he was kicking, he was squirming, he was crying out of hunger. And so what do you think happened to her heart? It was broken. Okay? Her heart's broken. At one point, she even did what? She just ran away because she couldn't stand to keep hearing him cry and watching him suffer. So she ran away. But obviously, running away, is that a solution?
No.
That's not a solution. That doesn't solve the problem. It just does what? It not necessarily makes it worse, but it's like a can. If I have a can, and I do what? I kick it. And I keep walking. What's going to happen? I'm going to come back to the can again, right? If I want that can to be out of the way, I have to ultimately do what? I have to pick it up and remove it. I have to do something about it. So she realized that by running away, I'm just kicking the can down the road. I need to find a solution. I need to find a resolution to the problem and not just keep kicking the can down the road or run away from the problem or stick my head in the sand like an ostrich and think the problem's going to do what? Just going to go away. Okay? So what happens? She starts to think. Starts to look around for water, for people, and there's only so far that she can do what? There's only so far that she can see. So how can she increase her range of sight?
By walking.
Huh?
By like moving.
Okay, that's one way.
We're going up high places.
Ahsan, she needs to go to a place that's elevated. Because when you're higher, you can see what? You can see farther. So she said to herself, I need to find elevation, a high place that I can go to, and I can look around, and if there's water, I'll spot it. And if there's people, I'll sight them, or they will see me. So she starts looking around for some elevation, and what do you think she saw?
She saw 2 mountains.
She saw one mountain at first, right?
Oh yeah, and then the other.
And that mountain was what?
A
As-Safa. Okay? So she said, I'm going to go to that mountain, I'm going to climb that mountain, and I'm going to see what I can see. So she does. She climbs up on the mountain, and she looks back to the valley where her child is. She looks back to the valley where her child is, and then she starts looking yamina wa shimala, to the right, to the left, to the right, to the left, to see if she can see some water, a source of water, or some inhabitants, some people. And she sees neither. But what she does see off in the distance,
And what was the name of the mountain?
As-Safa.
Al-Ansari.
Hey, see, you can, I don't know, is it clear, Ikhwan, at the bottom? That's not clear? I have to change the color of it next time, I guess.
Okay, okay.
It's not clear. Okay, sorry. Next time I'll have to change the color.
I see.
Okay, so she starts looking left and right. Doesn't see any people, doesn't see any water, but what she does see is what? Another mountain. Another mountain off in the distance. Maybe if I go to that mountain,
You can see.
I'll be able to see someone on the other side of it, a little further away. What was the name of that mountain? Al-Marwa. Okay? So she sees another mountain in Marwa. So what do you think she does?
She goes up the mountain.
She says, okay, I got to get down off this mountain and go to that mountain. So she descends and she gets to the valley. But is there any time to waste? Time is of the essence, isn't it? Time is of the essence. She has no time to waste. So what does she do when she gets to the valley? Huh? She starts to run. She lifts up her dress and she starts to run. Okay? Because she doesn't have time to waste. Her child is suffering and she wants to put an end to his suffering. So she gets to the valley and she starts to what? To run. She picks up the pace. Okay? She runs like a man on a mission. Okay? And then when she gets to the other mountain, she climbs up on top of it and does the same thing. Looks right, looks left, spends some time up there peering, seeing as far as she can see. Okay? And then ultimately, she decides to go back to the first mountain. So basically what's happening? What's happening?
Up and down.
Back and forth,
And down.
up and down.
Like the roller
And
coaster.
take a wild guess. How many times did she do that?
Like 7. 7.
She did that 7 times. Back and forth, up and down. Back and forth, up and down. Trying to take care of her child, find water, or find someone who could help. She did that 7 times. And the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith collected by al-Bukhari, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, he said, فَذَلِكَ سَعْيُ النَّاسِ بَيْنَهُمَا. He said that is the origin of this running back and forth between the two mini mountains that the people do when they make al-Hajj wal-Umrah. That is the sa'i. That is the origin of what? Of this sa'i. That's where it comes from. That's what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, that's what he said. Alright. So after 7 circuits between as-Safa wal Marwa and no results, doesn't achieve her objective, what comes next?
No.
She said, I need to go back and check on him. Right? She says, I need to go back and check on him. I would really appreciate if we did not use cell phones during the class. If whatever's going on the cell phone, we could just delay it until after the class. I would really appreciate that. That's just a suggestion. But that said, she says, let me go back and check on my child. I need to check on him. I've done everything I can and I need to see about him. So she finds him there. He's sobbing. He's red-faced. And he's wavering between consciousness and unconsciousness. He's been crying the whole time. And you can imagine what she must have felt. She felt what? Helpless. She felt helpless. What else can I do? I've done everything I can do. She felt helpless. But I'm going to ask you honestly, is a believer ever helpless?
No.
Is a believer ever helpless?
No.
Is a believer ever helpless?
No.
A believer is never helpless. Okay? Help is always near. And so what happened? The angel Gabriel, he appears.
Oh, subhanallah.
And he starts to strike the ground either with his heel or with the tip of his wing. And all of a sudden, a spring sprouts forth. Water gushes forth. And Hajar, she starts to do what?
She gets the water.
She starts to try to create like a basin out of the earth to do what? To catch the water. To catch the water. You guys see that? To contain, catch the water. Good job. Contain the water. And the Prophet ﷺ, he actually said about this, He said, يرحم الله إسماعيل لو تركت زمزم لكانت عينا معينا. He said, may Allah have mercy on the mother of Ismail. If she had just left Zamzam as it would have been what? A flowing spring. It would have been a flowing spring. Instead of what? Instead of a well. Okay? So, when the water starts flowing, and she's able to catch it and contain it, she's able to do what?
Drink it.
Drink. And once she's able to drink, she's able to give milk
To her child.
to her child and to settle him down. And once every mother and child are settled, the angel, he says, لا تخافي الضيعة. He said, don't fear that you'll be neglected, that you will perish, that something's going to happen to you. He said, فَإِنَّ هَاهُنَا بَيْتًا لِلَّهِ. He said, because on this very spot, there is a house of Allah. يَبْنِيهِ هَذَا الْوَلَدِ وَأَبُوهُ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَهْلَهُ. He said that there's going to be a house on this very spot that this boy, when he grows up, is going to build it. So what's that telling you? They're going to be just fine, right? Because this boy's going to grow up and build a house on this spot with his father, and Allah is not going to let any harm come to what? To the people of this house. Wait. So that is the chapter of the story that we're going to take today. And so now it's time for lessons. Okay? It's time for us to talk about the lessons contained in this chapter. So the first lesson is about a tawakkul. Teaches us the pillars of a tawakkul. But what's the tawakkul? Who knows what tawakkul is? What that means? What's a tawakkul? Tafadhal.
Trusting in Allah.
Trusting, relying on Allah. Trusting in Allah, relying on Allah. Okay, so let's say that I have a problem. Okay? And I want to trust in Allah to bring about the resolution. There's going to be two pillars to that. One pillar is I have to do what? I have to put the affair squarely in the hands of who? Allah. And believe that the resolution is going to come from Him. But is that the end of a tawakkul? Is that the beginning and end of it? So for example, let's say that I want to have a child. Okay? And so this is my dilemma. I want to have a child. But I'm not married. So I sit in my house and I say, أَنَا مُتَوَكِّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ. I'm going to put my trust in Allah. And He's going to bring about a child. He's going to resolve this problem. Is that going to work?
No, you have to try first.
I have to what? Employ the permissible means. What we call an akhd al-asbab. So there are certain means toward the end. I have to do what? Employ those means. And then after I employ them, believe that at the end of the day, the result is going to come from the means. No, the result is going to come from who? Allah.
Subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So I employ the permissible means and the result will come from Allah. That's a tawakkul. And so basically what this teaches us, one of the lessons it teaches us, we see it from Hajar. That she did what? She employed what? The means that were at her disposal. She went, she looked, she tried, she made effort. And then Allah did what? He brought about the result. طيب. The second lesson, which is related to this, is that when the going gets tough, when it gets difficult, the tough do what? They sit down? They take it easy? No, they get what? They get going. And because it happened to Hajar, this tells us that this includes who? It includes women. That when it gets tough for women, they're supposed to what? Get going. Rather than do what? Rather than complain. But how do you know if you're complaining? What's the difference between complaining and discussing, dialoguing about a problem to find a resolution? What's the difference? Who knows?
complaining is you're just saying your problem without trying to solve it?
Ahsan. So basically, when you complain, and you're talking to someone, let's say, and they propose a viable solution, you say what? No, but my problem, I have this problem, I have this problem. You don't propose a solution. They propose a solution. You don't propose a counter solution, but you just keep doing what? Mentioning what? The problem. And sulking about the problem and how bad the problem is, and you don't look for what? A solution, nor when solutions come to you do you accept what? Those solutions. That's what we call what? Complaining. You're just complaining. Islam doesn't tell us to complain. Can we discuss? Can we talk about? Can we research? Can we dialogue? Yeah. But at the end of the day, the purpose of our dialogue is to find a solution so we can solve the problem within our means. طيب. Number 3. This story, it provides a practical example of our protocol when it comes to care and concern. How do we prioritize care and concern? So, the first person we start with is who? Ourselves.
Self.
And then those who are closest to us under our care. As the Prophet said in the hadith, "Ibda binafsik, thumma man ta'ud." He said, begin with yourself, and then those who are under your care. You see this from Hajjah, that she made sure that she took care of herself so that she would be able to take care of her child.
Yes.
طيب. Number 4. This story confirms the truth of the statement of Allah when He said, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَن يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Says, whoever is truly conscious of Allah, Allah will make a way for him out of every difficulty and provide for him in ways he could never imagine. And he who truly places his trust in Allah, Allah suffices him. طيب. The next one, number 5, this story, it clarifies the origin of one of the pillars and fundamental rituals of the greater and lesser pilgrimage, which is as-sa'i. Tells us where this came from. This part of the Hajj, this part of al-Umrah came from Hajar when she was looking for water for her son Ismail. Number 6, this story also clarifies the origin of Zamzam. Where did it come from? Okay? Number 7, Allah has promised the people of the sacred mosque, Al-Haram al-Makki, that He will not neglect them. But let me ask you this question. Who do you think are the people of the sacred mosque? Who are these people that Allah promised? Huh? Who are the people that Allah promised? Are they the people who just live there? Are they the people who just live there? Atfadal.
No, they're the Muslims.
Okay, the Muslims. So is it just the Muslims who live there?
No.
Okay. So what do you think the people are? Atfadal.
Are the people that are poor?
The people who?
That are poor?
That are poor? Who do you think the people are? The people of the sacred mosque. The people who Allah promised. Because who do you think the people of the sacred... Are they just the people who live around it?
No.
You think?
No, people...
Even if they violate it, if they disrespect it, if they behave in a way which is displeasing to Allah, do you think they're the people?
No.
Okay. So who would be the people then? The people would be the people who what? They uphold Allah's religion, right? And His tenets. Okay? Alright, number 8. The great care and concern. Another thing this teaches, this is important. Everybody should pay attention to this. The great care and concern a mother has for her child, and the grief and worry that afflict her when any harm comes to him or her. Okay? So it's important for us to realize that our mothers, whenever we suffer, they suffer with us. They feel the pain. I know a guy from Saudi. And when I met him, he was what they call a mutawwa. You guys know what a mutawwa is?
No.
It's basically a actually a derogatory name that they use for religious people. People who are committed. People who pray and they grow their beard and they're committed. So anyway, he said, I wasn't always like this. He said that there used to be a time where I smoked cigarettes, I didn't pray, and I hung out with friends and listened to music and I would stay out late, etc. And I said, so what changed? He said, one night, I had a hard time sleeping. And so I got up in the middle of the night, and I don't know if he went to get something to drink or what it was. But he said, wherever he went in the house, he could hear... Does that mean? He said... Come on. So he said, wherever he went in the house, whatever, he went to the kitchen, wherever he went somewhere in the house, and he could hear his mother crying. He could hear his mother crying, and she was praying. And she was crying while she was praying. And she was saying, oh Allah, guide my son. Oh Allah, bring him back to the truth. Oh Allah, don't let him die upon misguidance. And she was crying. And that touched him. He could see that while he's going out and doing his thing and thinking everything is okay and he's not hurting his mother in any way. If he's hurting anyone, he's hurting himself. In fact, he was hurting her to the point that she's up at night crying, praying for him. So we have to understand that whatever hurts us, it hurts our mothers even more. But number 9. It also shows us the type of sacrifice that mothers make for their children. That mothers make some tremendous sacrifices for their children. So now, no matter what they do, children can never thank their parents for all that they've done for them. It's impossible. You can never give them back. You can never thank them. All right. طيب. All right, I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you a couple examples. I'm going to give you a couple examples. Like one example of the sacrifices and the great lengths that mothers go for their children is a famous story. That a boy, he got into trouble. Okay? He got into trouble. And the shaitan came to him and said, you know what, I can get you out of this trouble. But you know what you have to do? You have to kill your mother and bring me her heart. Okay? And so listen to this, ya akhwani wa akhawat. The boy did it. He killed his mother and he goes running toward the shaitan with her heart. Now listen to this. As he's running with the heart in his hand, he trips. He trips and the heart goes what? Goes flying and rolling away. And he hears a voice coming from the heart that says, Ya Ibni, oh my son, are you okay? Oh my son, are you okay? Come on. That's your mother. No matter what you do, no matter how much you harm her, you disrespect her, she's always what? She's always there for you. She's always there for you. How can you repay somebody like that? You can't. You can't repay somebody like that. To the point that Ibn Umar, one time he was making hajj, and he saw a man going around the Kaaba, carrying his mother on his back. And so when his eyes caught the eyes of Ibn Umar, he said, Ya Abu Abdurrahman. He says, Atarani jazaytuha? Do you consider that by doing this, I have repaid her? I have compensated her for all that she did for me. قال لا والله. He said, no, by Allah, you have not compensated her. وَلَوْ بِطَلْقَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ مِنْ طَلَقَاتِهَا. Not even for one contraction from the contractions of childbirth. وَلَكِنَّكَ أَحْسَنْتَ. But you've done well. وَاللَّهُ يُثِيبُكَ عَلَى الْقَلِيلِ كَثِيرًا. And Allah is going to give you a big reward for this little thing that you did. So this goes to show you, Ikhwan, that we can never repay our parents. No matter what we do, but we always try to. Even though we can't repay them, we try. We try to repay them. We try to repay them. We try to respect them. And we try to do what they ask us to do. Whatever that is, in our effort to repay them, although we can never repay them. And last but not least, from the lessons, is water is essential for life. Why didn't Jibril just bring her some dates? Why didn't he tap the ground with his heel and cause a date palm, by Allah's will, a date palm tree to pop up with a bunch of dates hanging down off of it, and they could just eat those dates? Why did he do that? Because, exactly, water is more essential to life than what? Than food. Water is essential for life, and that's why it is a very precious gift from Allah. And if it's a precious gift from Allah, essential for life, a believer should never waste it. A believer should never waste it. We talked about this a couple Mondays ago. I'm going to reiterate it again because there are a lot of people who don't come on Monday. And that is that we have a tendency, as Muslims unfortunately living in this land, where water is not scarce, it's in abundance, to waste it. And we waste it in many forms. Sometimes we buy these bottles of drinking water, we bring them to picnics, we bring them to the masjid for Ramadan, and we drink, what, half a bottle, and then leave it on the masjid floor. And nobody wants to come after that and drink it, so what happens to that water? It gets thrown away. We go home and we have a sink full of dishes. You think we'd fill up the sink with water and then what? Well, no, that's not how we do it. We turn the tap on like Niagara Falls, we have to turn on full blast, and we just run the water. Shh, while we're washing what?
The dishes.
Washing the dishes. Okay? And we talked about this, how one sink full of dishes that you wash while you run the water washing it, we talked about how many gallons of water you waste for one sink full of dishes. How many did we say? 20 gallons. 20 gallons for one sink of dirty dishes. If you do that every day of the month, for 1 month, that's 600 gallons of water you just what? Wasted. Do that every month of the year. That's 7,200 gallons of water you wasted for one house, one household. Is this not haram? You know, Hurricane Matthew, it struck Haiti head on. And it ruined their water sources. They became filled with bacteria, but the people didn't have any choice but to what? To drink. Now they have this big outbreak of cholera. You have people like this in the world who the water that they have, they can't drink it, they can't bathe with it, they can't use it. And those are the people who know the value of a drop of water. And then here we are, talking about Islam, talking about Muslims, and this, that, and the other. And this is what we do with the water. We waste it. We waste it. And by wasting it, we become the brothers of who? Of the malaika, of the shayateen. وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. And do not waste, do not engage in wasteful squandering. إِنَّ الْمُبَذِّرِينَ كَانُوا إِخْوَانَ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Indeed, those who waste and squander are the brothers of the devils. Which one of you wants to raise your hand if you want to be a brother of the shaitan? None of us want to be the, but we do things that make us the brothers of the devils. We need to stop wasting. Now stop wasting things. It doesn't matter what you waste. Don't think, well, there's some things you can waste, like energy. Like turning all the lights on in the house when you're sitting in one room. We talked about this extensively on Monday. I want to bring it back in form because this is not from Islam. It's not from Islam to waste. And we shouldn't criticize the people who are keen to tell us not to what? To waste. And a person is saying, don't waste. Use that. Reuse that. You don't need a new one. The old one is still good. That person is not a cheapskate. That person is one who's committed to what? To the command of Allah, the deen of Allah that tells us not to what? To waste and squander. So these are the lessons. Any questions? Any comments? Any complaints? Shay? Anything, Ya Ikhwan? Any questions, comments, or complaints? Going once? Tafadali. Raise your voice a little so I can't hear you. it appears so because in one of the narrations it says his heel, the other one it says his wing. So if she saw him if he hit it with his wing, it appears that he was in his original form. Ha. Anything else? Any other question? Going once? Going twice? Gone. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
شكرا.
I'm going to need your help.
الله أكبر الله